Okay, thank you for that introduction. My name is Erik Agren. I work with digital solutions as part of the overall product portfolio of Kongsberg Maritime. So that's me. Just wanted to say a little bit about where I'm coming from as well, if I can find the pointer. I come from Kongsberg Maritime, which is part of the Kongsberg Group. We are a global company with 4 main business areas. And I think we like to say about ourselves that we are present from the bottom of the ocean and all the way into space, which are the areas that we cover through our business areas. I am represented here through Kongsberg Maritime. In addition to that, we are also we have a defense division, Kongsberg Defense and Aerospace, and Kongsberg Digital, a fairly recent division, and lastly also Kongsberg Discovery, which was our previous, let's say, hydrographic and AUV business that we now split out in a dedicated business area, previously part of K-IMS. So those were the four areas. Kongsberg Maritime does represent some 80%, 60 to 80% of the business in the Kongsberg Group. We're divided as we see here, and I then represent the sales operation part in this. We have a fairly good global footprint, I would say, and currently, after the merger with Rolls-Royce Commercial Marine back in 2017, we have equipment on some, roughly 30,000 vessels globally. I'll finish off this part of the talk, just explaining a little bit about our vision to basically create value, profitable and competitive customer-based, and focused on reliability and also sustainability. Live on and off ocean resources, and our duty as a technology provider, smarter, greener, and more efficient. And this is a journey that we are very, very much devoted to. And lastly, people and the mindset that drives them is an important factor in order to have a base that is willing to go the extra mile to reach the goals that we have together with our customers. Let's jump directly into the main part of my talk, information management system. What is that? I've tried to work a little bit with that to sort of define for myself, try to make it a little bit simple. But in essence, it's about harvesting data from the data producers that you have offshore. That can be different assets. Anything from rigs to vessels to autonomous vehicles as well. It's about harvesting that, contextualizing that, and then transfer that into a cloud or shore-based environment. Sounds fairly easy, but I think we need to sort of be aware that we are not. It's easy to start comparing or draw analogies towards digitalization of, let's say, a land-based industry, and also I see sometimes also comparisons with business-to-consumer models, which I think is a little bit challenging to bring into this industry. If you look at the large players on the B2C market with Apple and Android and so on, they are they are in the position that they have, I don't know the numbers, but let's say they have 150 million units out in the market, and each unit is equal. You know exactly what type of operating system you have, you know exactly what type of sensors you have, and so on. If you look at the maritime business, as I said earlier, I think we are on board some 30,000 vessels globally, and I think there's not one of them that's equal. They're all different. Even vessels in, let's say, a series of vessels, they will have differences between them that makes it very challenging to just put ahead a one-size-fits-all solution. So this is where we are coming from with respect to information management. It had its sort of, the starting point was in the late 1990s. But then it was solely focused towards the OPU market. So I think we had our first solutions there around 1999. It remained in that area for quite some time, but from the 2010s and onwards, we started to see a growing maturity within two particular areas. That was on the advanced offshore side, drilling and so on, and LNG. And that's sort of where the solution we have today builds on what we started with back in the 2010s. And we're now currently at K-IMS, I think it is 521, the release we're at now. Yeah, and lastly also we have moved in also to more general merchant, but that is still very much in the beginning. So, if we want to have a look at this a little bit from a bird's eye view, over the last 10 years, we have built up a portfolio of some 36 fleets, and when I say fleets, you can think of this as basically cloud environments. They're somewhat equally distributed between the advanced offshore market and LNG. But when it comes into the number of vessels, obviously LNG is much larger. The fleet sizes in LNG is much larger than in offshore. So we are currently supporting some 310 vessels through our cloud solutions. We are also working with multiple stakeholders. We started obviously with the vessel owner, that is our primary customer, but we also have a Shell on board, a charter on the LNG side. We have had an agreement with them since 2017. And lastly, we have also now managed to get some of the OEMs on board as well. That being then Cryostar and LG. I'll come a little bit back to that. And yeah, also try to indicate that we have been doing this for some time. Yeah, and as I said, this is very much an area where collaboration between the different parties is quite critical. And as I mentioned, we started with the vessel owner. Everything starts with the vessel owner. It's the owner of the asset, basically, who controls this. And that has been an important factor for us to ensure that we take the vessel owner's interest very, very seriously. There is no doubt that more and more, or most of the operators that we have, they do view the data that we are transporting for them as highly business critical. So you need to be very aware of this. You need to have sort of all the routines in place and so on. But when we have shown that we are able to do this, then we also started, as I said, 2017 with Shell, and now also with Cryostar and Babcock. And of course, the part of the success there has also to do with the setup we have on board, because we have OEMs who have chosen to use our control system on board, meaning that they are fully integrated with the AIS on board, and that gives us the possibility to support them in this way. And their motivation, obviously, is going from paper-based, Excel-based reporting from the vessels on once every week, once every 2 weeks, to getting live data from their equipment with a much greater granularity. And this enables them, obviously, to do more continuous monitoring of their systems, but also to come with more advanced services available for the owners. Yeah, I'll go a little bit into sort of some of the details about how we do this. My presentation will not be as technical as the previous. I need to keep it a little bit higher level, but anyway, it starts on the left-hand side. Obviously, we draw data from the various types of control systems we have on board. This can differ quite significantly from vessel to vessel, but also very often we have larger packages that are directly integrated into our onboard aggregation layer. We also have here the possibility to interface third-party through some, I think we have now some 10 different interface protocols that we can support. If you look at the left-hand side here, the number of, if you take LNG as an example, the number of IOs that are available there will be in the range from perhaps 8 to up to 12,000. A subset of that is then selected for long-term storage on the K-IMS onboard server, which functions as the data aggregation layer. It has several functions beyond that as well. I'm not going to go into details for all of them, but the most important part, which is relevant now, is that it is the DM set for our control systems. That means that any data going out of our, or if you want to have access to the system from an outside source, i.e. a source that is, let's say, exposed to internet, you need to go through the DM set, and this has to do with cybersecurity issues, and this has also been something that we've strengthened quite a lot, given what will happen from 1st of January through the new IAX regulations. Anyway, we store a subset there, and then we, for the customers who we have a contract with, we then do data replication through a Kongsberg VPN solution, and enable then the clients to have different types of content onshore, and also to allow for data sharing through APIs, and also take in data from other sources. Yeah, we struggled, as I think everybody did in the beginning, because there is something about the maturity of the market with respect to opening up and seeing the value of using these solutions. So I think part of what we were able to do, and which I think was a good choice, was that we didn't put everything in the basket at once. We split it up and made, let's say, a step-up model where sort of the absolute minimum step is related then to remote services, which we saw that had sort of the first interest in the market. So I think the step-up model was a good choice to be able to get more and more clients on board. And if you look at sort of what the solution is itself, it is basically a modern platform that we use to develop applications, but also where the users can develop their own content. It has all the, let's say, the typical features that you would expect with respect to user administration and so on. We utilize the same, let's say, software package on board as we do in the cloud, meaning that we can also obviously publish the portal on board, as well as having it available in the cloud from the shore side. Okay, yeah, and this is another part that I think is important for how we managed to do this. And the philosophy behind the solution, if you go back to the early 2010s, was that we wanted to be able to deliver data with a given quality and with high integrity, and enable our users to create their own content. That was sort of the starting point and philosophy. And I think what we see now, 20 years later, is that we have the full spectrum. On the one side, you have the clients who basically do not want to spend the resources in-house to do this, so they basically end up procuring the services from us to create it. And on the other scale, you have clients that are going in full-blown. They dedicate resources, they send them for training, and they basically have an in-house team that works with this continuously. So I think it's quite interesting to see that from where we started and the starting point, we have now sort of see that we have the full spectrum of users with respect to this. And this is the toolbox that enable this. And throughout the years then, we have then been able to develop in cooperation with our clients, basically a fairly rich ecosystem which is continuously growing. I'm not going to go into details on all of this, but there is a mix here. I think we started very early on. It was a matter of creating ways to sort of monitor onboard systems, more or less copies of AIS HMI, and then moving more into performance applications and advisory applications such as JAWS, for example. Yeah, and what's the position of IMS now with respect to where we're going? I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I would assume that this is very known stuff for most of us here. But obviously there's a lot of talk about CII these days, which is then the let's say the global part of the regulatory landscape. In addition to that you have the regional part here represented by the EU, where today ETS, which was approved in the European Parliament last December, is being talked about a lot. And I mean, we've been gathering data through the MRV and DCS scheme for several years now, but there has been no consequence with respect to that. This changes now because if you get a bad CII score, you risk lowering your day rates on your vessel. And the ETS has a direct smackdown on your wallet because, as we will see, I can't remember the current price, but I think it's around 90 euros per ton CO2 that you need to pay. So that has a direct fiscal consequence. And obviously ETS will sort of be phased in. It's not going to go 100% from day one. First of all, it's marine transportation, but they will also start covering offshore at a little bit of a later stage. And I think also what is interesting is that you see CII is CO2 based only, but ETS also goes in and looks at the other components, where I think methane is going to be very, very important. I think the focus on methane will become stronger and stronger as we go forward. Yeah, and because of this change, the element of data quality will become much more important. And I think it's very important that you are able to follow your data points all the way from when they are generated at a sensor or in a control system or similar, through the onboard aggregation layer, and also then into the cloud. And the reason why this is so important, you need to know something about the quality, because as I mentioned previously, now these numbers will be used towards reporting that gives a direct fiscal consequence for the ship owners. So I think the focus on data quality and data integrity will be much greater going forward. Yeah, and I just end up with this one, protecting people and planet, which is sort of our our goal and our vision and our way of working from Kongsberg Maritime. And with that, I'd thank you for your time. Then my time is up.